How did one of the most dashing playboy cricketers married to a millionaire turn into the puritanical defender for the poor and powerless? Imran Khan has been accused of it all, from being called ladies' man to a common mullah. He has had a spectacular innings, but the game is far from over. Imran, I'm really very pleased to have you on the couch. You're our first Pakistani guest, so very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Now, your transformation from this legendary cricketer who's been there, done that, seen it all, lived it up, to this religious, spiritually inclined, good Samaritan politician, has that been a joyous one or a painful one?
It's neither. I mean, it's neither joyous or a painful one. It's been an evolution. In fact, the worst, type of a person is who's stuck in one thing. So in my case, I had always a very straightforward, simple philosophy in life that past was only to learn from and move on, never live in the past.
What was the greatest lesson you learned? What was your turning point?
Big incident in my life was my mother's death. I was very close to her. So that was a big, that changed me, that changed my course in life. I wouldn't have thought of building a hospital had it not been for that. But then that also, it sparked off another, an inner quest to ask the basic question that what am I doing on this earth and where am I going afterwards? And when you start asking yourself those questions, then, you move towards spirituality.
And did you find the answers? Have you found the answers of what are you doing on this earth?
What I discovered really through this quest was that the purpose of my existence was, because I was given so much by the Almighty, I had more than whatever I wanted, that I should do my best to help the less privileged in the society. So that was my purpose.
You've done a great job at that. You've built a hospital, you've got your Sasta Tandoor project going on where you give cheap rotis to lower than cost to people. You're building a college, you're building another hospital. But why did you not limit it to the Good Samaritan? Why did you feel the need to join politics when you'd never even voted before?
Well, I hope I can complete this project of an international standard university, which is what I'm doing, so that people in Pakistan can get quality education, but 50% for the poor. So scholarship, 50% would be scholarships. So it's very ambitious.
Wow.
But if I ever get into power, which I think I will, inshallah, then I can make Pakistan into a welfare state, a state that looks after its underprivileged.
And then it wouldn't have free economics and it wouldn't have liberal policies, or would it?
My aim would be first to have rule of law. Rule of law means that you do not have one law for the rich and one for the poor, one for the powerful, one for the weak, as happens in Pakistan.
You want to go into the tribal form of justice, where it is the jirga, is that what it's called? Is that what you wanted to get into, where the panchayat, as we know it in India, but like the elders of a village decide what the justice would be?
I'm not sure about India, but in Pakistan, 80% of people do not have access to justice. So when the poor man comes against the powerful man, he will always lose out because he cannot afford a lawyer. So to give them a level playing field, what we want is to formalize these village juries. You call them, in frontier you call them jirgas, in Punjab and you call them panchayat. When they talk about Pakistan's lawless tribal area, they don't realize that in our tribal areas, people have access to free justice and there is complete rule of law. The powerful cannot discriminate against the weak.
Things that I have read about you, you are called, unfortunately, the spoiler politician. And does it upset you when your politics are not taken as seriously in your own country?
Look, all my life, whatever I did, I was never taken seriously in the beginning. I mean, for a long time in cricket, they never took me seriously. When I was building this cancer hospital, there were people saying, it'll be a white elephant. The government hasn't built a cancer hospital, and 70% free treatment, I promised, is the only private cancer hospital anywhere in the world. Gives 70% people free treatment, spends 1 billion rupees on free treatment every year. I concentrate on where I'm going, and I actually am immune to, what what people say, because people say one thing today, they change tomorrow.
But it's been a fact that you've only been elected once and only you've had a seat in Parliament. So where do you see the future of your party?
It's also a fact that no one has tried to do what I have tried to do in Pakistani
Which
politics.
is what?
Which is that to come into politics and stand up against the establishment. No political party in Pakistan's history has stood up against the establishment when it has been offered to become part of the government.
Why did you refuse?
Because I did not come into politics to just get seats in Parliament. I came into politics to bring about a socio-economic change.
But can't you do that by having the power only? It's only possible if you have the power, right?
You can never bring about change by joining the status quo. It's a contradiction in terms. It is, I haven't taken the trodden path.
You think you're too clean for politics?
I'm an idealist. I always was an idealist. But change is always brought by idealists. Realists never bring any change. If I was a realist, I wouldn't be in politics.
Who's accused of having a confused ideology? What exactly is your ideology? Because you go from, supporting the Taliban supporters to unsupporting them, to pulling out your support, to you do a lot of flip-flops, as it's called.
I have never, ever changed what I stood from day one. I have never changed. When we supported Musharraf, I supported Musharraf for 2 years. I only supported him because of his 7-point agenda. When he betrayed us, I left him. This is a complete misconception that I have backed Taliban, or I would stand for the Taliban philosophy. First of all, in 1400 years of Islamic history, there has been no phenomena like the Taliban. This is the most unique thing. Death and destruction caused by Soviet Union, where they killed 1.3 million people out of a population of 15. And then the warlords, which were left behind, everyone abandoned Afghanistan. They fought and killed hundreds of thousands of people. From the ashes rose the Taliban. So those circumstances, first of all, do not prevail in Pakistan or any Muslim country. Anyone who's educated or who calls himself an educated Muslim, there is only one Islam. In Islam, you have fanatics, majority moderates and liberals and conservative, like any religion, like any human community. But Taliban were a phenomenon of unique circumstances in Afghanistan. I never defended them, I explained the phenomena. Secondly, even today when I say what the US is doing, this war on terror is doing, is creating radicalization in the Muslim world. Instead of removing terrorism, they are creating nurseries for future terrorists. I was the first one who said it. I was the first one who said that the only way to win this war is through political negotiations. Today everyone is saying that. War on terror is not a war, it's an idea. How do you fight an idea with conventional arms? You fight ideas with ideas. You don't fight ideas with bombs. Pakistan suffered 100 suicide attacks since last July. And so now people are talking about, and everyone acknowledges I was right. Musharraf is responsible for this moronic policy which has killed so many soldiers, it has killed so many of our civilians, it's destabilized Pakistan, but worst of all, it is radicalizing our young people.
Well, young people who are the majority of your supporters come from the youth. How do you convince them with all this radicalization happening, people ready to kill themselves, bombings happening, the economy being in so much debt? How do you convince them that Pakistan is not a failed state?
Look, first of all, remember radicalization is different to religious extremism. You have religious extremists here, for instance, burning churches and stuff. In Gujarat you saw religious extremism. In Pakistan we have religious extremism. But they are always on the margins of society. Now what is happening in the tribal areas of Pakistan is that the Americans are indiscriminately bombing. They think they are targeting militants. Most of the time militants are on the move and get away. They end up killing innocent people and radicalize their families and the clans, who then go and join the other side.
But then who affiliate themselves with Islam? Who kind of find some resonance there?
No, but it does. Look, when people live their religion, they will always fight in the name of Islam, and different communities will fight in the name of their religion. The Jews, the Jews who are fighting in Israel, they use religion, but the reason is not religion. Reason is politics. All terrorist conflicts, the root of all terrorism is politics, not religious. When the Tamils are fighting the Sinhalese majority in Sri Lanka, it's not Hindu extremism, it's a political tussle going on, and the solution is also political. Calling Islamic terrorism, you are actually exacerbating the situation, because 1.3 billion people suddenly are bracketed into being part of terrorism. How does anyone distinguish between a radical Muslim and a moderate Muslim? How? It's not written on my forehead. So it is actually a big disservice to a whole community when you put religious labels on terrorism. Terrorism knows no religion, but the root causes of terrorism are always political.
So as a practicing devout Muslim, are you for or against jihad?
Look, what is jihad?
I don't know. I mean,
jihad is that if someone occupies my country, I fight for my freedom. This, by the way, is in the Charter of the United Nations. The Charter of the United Nations allows you to pick up arms if your country is occupied by someone else. Basically, it's a defensive war. It's a just war. It is same in Hinduism. The Christians talked about just war. It is not restricted to Islam. But it is, rather than accepting slavery and oppression, you fight for your freedom. And always in human communities, freedom struggles are always revered. We are called martyrs. If you will call Indians who fight for their freedom will be martyrs. Pakistanis would be martyrs. So it depends how you look at them. So
how do you look at it in that sense? What would you like the thing that's happening in the Islamic world, where people are fighting for their freedom? It's happening in Iraq, it's happening in Afghanistan, but they fight in the name of jihad. In the name of Allah, yeah.
So if they fight in the name of jihad, they're still fighting for their freedom. I wrote articles before the American bombed Afghanistan, and I said this would be the biggest gift given to Osama bin Laden. Time has proved me right. If there was a fair writing of history, Bush should be hauled into a court as a war criminal.
Do you think Zardari is doing a good job, President Zardari?
I don't know at the moment what job he's doing.
So you don't support his policies?
What policies? I mean, so far we are trying to find out what are Zardari's policies, because it's a continuation of what Musharraf has done. And we have never had such a weak government in our history. A government that came with no plan. They have no idea what to do with all the different crises. Zardari is even a bigger puppet of George Bush than Musharraf was, if that was possible. I mean, we thought, we had seen the ultimate puppet, but Zardari has beaten him to it. He's basically, he thinks that somehow the US will bail him out just like Musharraf did. And unfortunately, the country is sinking into various crises.
But doesn't Pakistan need America on some level?
Look, United States is a superpower. Every country should work with them. But there is a difference, You want to have some sort of a semblance of friendship, as opposed to being a total slave, is what we are right now. And it's the worst for the self-esteem of people of Pakistan. To be a Pakistani right now, with the sort of governments who are boot polishing the Bush administration, I find it embarrassing.
On another note, who do you think actually was behind the killing of Benazir Bhutto?
Well, frankly, I don't know, but the shocking thing is that despite Asif Zardari heading the government, in fact, he's basically replaced Musharraf as a dictator. He has all the powers of Musharraf right now. He has not initiated an inquiry. It is so puzzling for all of us that, he's asking for a UN inquiry. I would have understood about a UN inquiry if his party was in the opposition. But how can you ask for UN inquiry when your own government is in power? So basically he's passed in no confidence in his own government. And nothing has happened. There is no inquiry. So we don't know.
But what would be your speculation? What is the general view in Pakistan, or your view?
Well, it was obviously very convenient for anyone who was scared of Benazir coming into power, and there would have been a few people, to kill her and then blame it on the Taliban or the extremists. It was always going to be, she was in a no-win situation. The moment she was endorsed by the Bush administration as the liberal face of the civilian face of a power-sharing deal with a military dictator. Remember, this was brokered by the Bush administration. They put the kiss of death on her.
Did you know her well?
Of course, I knew her very well. We were in university together.
What was she like in university?
Yeah, she was very political. Brave woman.
Would you have ever allied with her and her party, do you ever think?
I would have, but I was so shocked that here we was in a movement for democracy against a military dictator, for the independence of judiciary, and there she and her party were brokering, the Americans were brokering a deal between her and her party and General Musharraf. So, obviously it was very disappointing.
Okay, let's say that you are Imran Almighty for like a period of time. You have all the powers in the world. How would you solve the Kashmir crisis?
I think the Kashmir crisis cannot be solved by Pakistan alone. The Kashmir crisis can only be solved with the wishes of the people of Kashmir. And I'm afraid this will go on and on and on until one day the people of Kashmir are given the right to decide their destiny.
So in what opinion has India got right that Pakistan hasn't, perhaps?
Well, India got its democracy right. We, on the other hand, were very unfortunate that our great leader died immediately. And from then onwards, the moment we had the army coming in and we had the judiciary becoming completely subservient to the executive, and as a result, the rule of law disappearing, and as a result, elections not being free and fair, we headed the other direction.
Why was it necessary for your wife at the time, Jemima, to live like a devout Muslim woman, especially in the circumstances that you guys had met? She was Jewish, you had met in the party circuit in London, she was coming from a extremely rich, affluent, liberal family. You
must respect the sensibilities of the people you're living with. Jemima, when she moved into society, she wanted to be like, not upset people, by wearing mini skirts in Pakistani society. She realized that this is the society she's in, and she respected their feelings.
Did you appreciate the transformation that she went through, from where she was coming in, and the transformation that she did for you, for love, for being your wife? Did you?
I have always had the greatest admiration for her. I think at times I used to say, listen, Jemima, you don't have to, really do go to that extent. But I was always so impressed that she would go out of her way to be sensitive to other people's feelings. And remember, she was, people loved her in Pakistan. They treated her like a queen.
Do you miss her?
I'm someone who very early in his life understood that past is not to live in. So I don't suffer from nostalgia. I go through the period, I go through whatever pain, and then I close that chapter and move on.
You live off because you don't play cricket anymore. Politics doesn't give you money because you're not corrupt. So
I work out my monthly expenditure, and then my yearly expenditure, and then I work to make that much money in a year to pay my bills. Supposing, what's the worst that could have happened to me? Supposing I ran out of money, I would sell a few things and reduce my way of life. Reduce the expenditure in my life, because I live a very Spartan type of life. I was never into sort of clothes or designer stuff and
really?
Shopping.
That suit looks totally designer.
Yeah, well,
You're so passionate about cricket. Why have you not, joined the cricket board in Pakistan or become their manager or given them the leadership that they require?
Cricket was like a love affair. Once that love affair ended, I did not want it to be in that. There had to be another passion, a love affair, which from social ended up politics now. So all my passion is in politics. So to think of anything else is madness. But I have promised people in Pakistan that the moment my party comes into power, within 2 or 3 years, Pakistan will become the best cricketing team in the world.
Inshallah.
Because I will fit the structure. Actually,
why am I saying that? No, we want India to be the best team. What do you think of this IPL that has become so lucrative and is so successful? Do you think that playing for nations will be an outdated thing and everyone will just play for clubs?
money itself is not going to destroy cricket. Too much of 2020 cricket and a devaluation of Test cricket would actually destroy cricket.
And we're going to play couch confession, Imran.
I'm not good at confessions, I can tell you right now. But
well, you
I'll try
better
my
get
best.
really good at it fast. No, these are easy. What is your best day on the pitch?
When we beat India in Bangalore in a Test match.
Okay, censored. Name 3 best friends that you have in India.
Well, one of the oldest friend I have is Vikram Mehta. Then Parmeshwar Godrej.
Whose house we are in, whose beautiful house.
So there are a lot of friends, acquaintances over a period, but these two are very close.
Okay, rate these actresses. Zinat Aman?
She was, when I was in my 20s, she was the most popular actress in Pakistan. So yes, she was then the #1 actress of my generation.
Malika Sherawat?
You see, I haven't seen any of her films, and I met her at Parmeshwar's, but I can't comment on her acting.
What would it be? Shalwar kameez or suit?
My wife, Jemima, ex-wife, the best she ever looked was in Shalwar kameez. I loved her in Shalwar kameez. Shalwar kameez can look so good on a woman, and what it does is, it glosses over the imperfections and enhances the good points of a woman.
What is the worst thing you've suffered at the hands of this new Islamophobia?
To dub a whole religion, Islamofascism, Islamic terrorism, I find that deeply offensive.
What do you spend the most money on?
Really running my house.
On what occasion do you lie?
When you don't want to hurt people, sometimes you lie, but I don't, as a rule, it's not a good policy.
What would it say on your tombstone?
I don't worry about what happens to me once I mean, I'm not one of those who wants to be remembered in a particular way. No.
Well, I want to be remembered, so I have something to remind you of this show and me. It's a couch cushion for being a great guest.
Thank you
so much. Thank you very much. Have a safe flight back.